Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting insight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast. I'm Pete Mitchell.
And I'm Dan Sams.
And this week's podcast is being brought to you by FastOC. You can check them out over there at fastoc.com. They are a great training company, as well as they hold handgun challenges, things like that. I've done several of their trainings. In fact, Dan, what kind of got me turned on to them was they were doing a class on how to roll your own ammo. And
Cool.
That's kind of appropriate because in California, just the day here we're recording yesterday, they had a new law go into effect where we now have to have background checks to get ammo.
Man,
And
awful.
it's like this stupid state, it so doesn't give a rip about the Constitution or freedoms or your rights. And so I actually took the class because you can buy all the components to build your own ammo. And I just don't really want the government having a record of every single thing I got, every single thing I do. I don't believe it's any of their business. I don't need their permission. I don't want their permission. Yeah. And so anyway, I got hooked up with FastOC at fastoc.com to take that class. And man, I tell you, they've got some fantastic stuff. So if you're in Orange County, California, check them out. Go take a class from them.
So were they training on like how to do the like the one pull semi-automated reloading? Is that?
When I took it, they had in the classroom a single stage reloading machine. Yeah. They've since upgraded. So they've got, I want to say it's the Dillon 550. I could be wrong on that, but they've got the multi-stage press.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into making ammo and not killing yourself or anyone around you or blowing up your favorite firearm that I've made some ammo and I've yet to use it on the range because I'm like, okay, I got to get more, and then I want to go get a lab radar or something that I can actually test the speed that it's coming out at, and is that right? Is the gun cycling? All that stuff, just till I get it down. But yeah, I mean, now in California, because of this stupid law, I mean, that was actually the reason why I wanted to learn how to reload. I was just like, I don't trust California. I don't want them to know everything I got. So. Yep.
Well, those Dillon reloaders are pretty nice, and the prices aren't bad on them. I like them. I'm reasonably certain that's what my buddy has, that he's reloaded with me a couple of times, and he brings his, and his is way faster than my, single pull, whatever. I think mine's RCBS rock chucker.
Okay.
And, it's really cool, but man, it's slow doing one at a time.
It is, and I can't remember who I got. Because I wanted to start out with a single stage, and then I was like, I'll upgrade to the multi-stage when I'm like, no, I'm not going to blow up something. And I can't remember who I got. It might have been like Lyman. I honestly don't remember, and I still don't feel like I've got it down. Like all I've done is some 300 blackout. And like I know that the guy over there, Lance, who runs FastOC, he loads a lot of 9mm, and so I can't remember which one he's got, but he's got the one that Dillon considers professional. And so, like the support, he goes, the support's worse on this. He goes, if you got the 550, he goes, they'll answer any question you got. Something breaks, they're there for you. You're on like the 1050, they assume you're a professional doing this for a living, and everything costs. so I thought that was kind of funny, but because like he is really into handgun competitions, USSPCA, GLMNOP, all the stinking letters that go into that, and IDPA. He also he won a national championship, I think, in revolver. I mean, the guy is just stinking quick, man. I've never seen anyone handle a gun that quick, let alone it's a revolver, and he's got to reload like way more often than us with a Glock, right? And so he does a lot of 9mm. I mean, just a lot of 9mm. And they're doing it, special mix just for his gun, and it's got very light recoil. In fact, it's so funny when we're at the range and they're shooting that stuff, because it's like all the rest of us are bang, 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 and then his gun goes off. It's like bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. Just so quiet. Sounds like a 22.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's crazy. Oh, you know what? That was the subject I wanted to talk about on a podcast. Was in the zombie apocalypse, if you could only have one firearm, what would your one firearm be?
Cool.
Just one. Zombie apocalypse, right? And I got this because I was watching The Walking Dead last night, or Fear of the Walking Dead, and I was like, man, if I could only have one firearm in the apocalypse, zombie apocalypse, what would it be? And my own personal is, I think I would have to go for a suppressed 22.
Yep.
Because I would want it to be as quiet as possible.
So and get some subsonic ammo, man.
Well, it's a 22. I mean, come on. I'm not talking 223. I'm talking 22 rimfire.
Well, but even then, man, if you can get that subsonic, you really might be able to get something that's quiet. Like, because then you still have to think about the sound barrier breaking. And so assuming you're subsonic, man, I think you're quiet. Yeah, man.
The action's going to sound louder than the bullet flying down.
See, now you went immediately to silence. My first thought was long-term reliability. And I'm like, what do I want that I never have to worry about getting broken? And so I thought for a second about a revolver, but I'm like, man, I think I'd rather have something in the realm of a Glock or maybe a Walther 22, like you're saying, because, man, 6 rounds when the zombie horde is coming is not good. You know what I mean?
No, and see, for me, that's where I was like, would I want like a 10-22? I mean, what exactly 22 do I want? Do I want a rifle? Do I want a handgun? Because, when you watch like Fear of the Walking Dead, half the time the bigger problem is with the people that are alive.
Most of the time.
Right, not with the zombies. And I'm like, oh, man, that's tough. If I could only have one, though, it would probably have to be some sort of rifle in 22 suppressed. I think because I would want the accuracy of the rifle.
Yeah. Well, that Ruger 1022, if you get those in one of those ATI chassis where you've got the folding stock, and that thing's, you're still dealing with such a small gun. I mean, you can fold out the stock and shoot, with a little bit more accuracy, or you can fold it close and you've got a raid gun. Put a suppressor on that, man, all day long. And those things are reliable. You put the right ammo in it, especially, man. I mean, it'll eat anything you put in it anyway. But
right.
The truth is, it is a folding Ruger 1022 that is my primary bug out gun right now.
Oh, no kidding.
That is my primary. Now, my plan is, and
by the way, that's illegal in California.
Just share that sucks. But my plan is to do all 22 ammo right now. So my daughter can carry a 22 pistol. I can sidearm a 22 pistol. My wife can have a 22, and then I can easily carry. I could probably carry 2,000 rounds of ammunition between us, and easily.
Yeah.
And have plenty of ammo, be able to effectively suppress it, do whatever we want. Now, I mean, if I come across a bear, or if I have to, take out somebody who's, really large, I've got to make sure my shot placement is just right. But we can move stealth. We can do a whole lot. We can have a whole lot of ammo with the 22s.
Yeah. So, and you actually bring up an unrelated topic, but it made me think of it with shot placement. So I did two local competitions. So these are not these are not even at the caliber of the big competitions, the regionals or anything like that. And the first one I would say is even less so. So like if I don't make it in the top 3 people at the first competition, then I know I really screwed up. Like, because the caliber of shooter there is much more of a beginner.
Yeah.
And don't misunderstand me. I think that's awesome. Like, I love it when people first start out and get going in it, right? But that's why I'm just like, look, if I'm not in the top 3 because of who I'm going up against. Whereas the one I did Friday night, if I make the top 50%, I'm just happy, right? Because those are real competition gunfighters, and I'm like, look, if I could just make top half, I'm okay. So anyway, it was really funny because Wednesday's competition, man, it was like the second stage, and I shoot a non-threat, and I was like, are you kidding me? It was like my second shot. I'm shooting the non-threat, and I'm like, great, forget it. This whole competition's done. Because I mean, it's not that difficult to miss the non-threat. Like, it's just not. So I just wasn't paying attention on my follow-up shot, and went too far to the left and tagged the non-threat. And anyway, made it through the rest of the stages. Still ended up getting 3rd. And
hey.
I know. I was like, are you kidding me? In fact, the guy who got 4th, he was literally behind me by like 12 tenths of a second, or 12 tenths of a point, I should say. And he's like, man, I still got 4th and you hit a non-threat. And I go, yeah, but you're shooting from concealment. Like, this guy, every time he goes to a competition, he's shooting from concealment because it's almost like it's more practice for him than he wants to win. So I kind of respect that a lot, right? Because everything he's doing from a concealment. I'm like, yeah, but you shot from concealment. So, I mean, that what your score is incredible based on that. Yeah. And then I was looking at the scores. I would have at least taken 2nd and beaten our instructor who got 2nd had I not hit the non-threat. And I didn't look at the first guys. I know. If I had looked at the first place guys, I don't know. I don't know how close he was to the 2nd place, but I would imagine I was pretty close if I hadn't shot the non-threat to taking him out. So then Friday night, we have a 2-gun competition. It was an AR challenge. And so it was AR and pistol. And man, dude, we went 4 hours and only got like, I think 4 stages in, maybe 5 stages. And it's just because, I mean, there were so many jams happening on people. Really? So many people, I think, weren't used to shooting their rifle. We've got some steel poppers, and you can only hit those with a handgun because it's an indoor range. Right. And I'm telling you, I'm all the way in the back. We're live streaming it. So I'm actually doing the live stream. And I get tagged right in the middle of the forehead with the ricochet off of the popper. Oh. And I'm like, dang, man, did that break the skin? Because I'm like, that hurt.
That's scary, man.
Yeah, it's not that. It. Like, that's the big thing. Everyone in there knows there's going to be fragments because we're shooting steel poppers. And it's all indoor. So, I mean, it can only go so many places. It's going to hit the walls and bounce back at you.
That's why you get that eye protection.
Exactly. You never take it off in the indoor range because you just, man, someone hits it, you could lose an eye for sure.
Oh yeah.
And it just stung. I didn't break the skin there, but then like the next day, I was looking at my head and I'm like, I got a red dot right there. Oh my gosh, man. My little scar is bleeding. No,
you can say you've been shot, sort of.
I could already say that, actually. That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole other story.
But it was still fun, man. It was, I mean, if I were to do that again, I would almost want to do that one with all pros.
Yeah.
Because they seem to have less problems handling their firearms, right? Because they like that was what ate up all the time was jam after jam. And
man,
wait, how do I use this rifle again? And I'm like, look, I might need some practice on switching from rifle to pistol, but still, let's.
Yeah. You need to know how your weapon functions at the very least. That would get me frustrated.
Well, a lot of people didn't even bring their AR, and the guy just said, "Hey, shoot it with your handgun." And So, I mean, they might have beaten me, who knows? But like, I wasn't even worried at all about the score on that one because I was so screwed up. Everyone else was so screwed up. But it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. I mean, let's face it. Anytime you can go do 2-gun or 3-gun, you just can't do 3-gun in an indoor range.
Yeah.
Can you imagine shooting slugs and you're shooting? Oh, your shoulder would just be dead by the end of that. But anyway, man, I know you had a good story too that you wanted to share.
Yeah, man, this is not a new one, but we were talking about concealment stuff, and it reminded me. We had a guy years ago in our church who was he's in SWAT and he's been a police officer for a long time, and I was just starting to do any kind of concealed carry, and so I dress. I like to wear things fitted. I like to kind of keep it nice and neat. And so I'm telling him, I'm like, hey man, so what kind of suggestions do you have for me as I'm trying to conceal carry? You know, what's the best way? Do you do in the waistband, you appendix, and what kind of suggestions do you have? I'm just trying to get his advice. And he's standing right there. He looks right at me. And I give cops a hard time. I love them. Some of my best friends are cops, but I tease them a lot. And so he just set me up so perfectly because he begins knowing that I dress, a little bit more fitted clothes. He opens his mouth and says, well, you have a lot less room in the pants than I do. and as soon as it comes out of his mouth, he realizes what he has just inadvertently said about himself.
That's hilarious.
And his wife is standing right there. She falls over laughing. And I'm in this awkward position where I'm like, I don't even know what to say right now. But I guess I'm going to have to carry a different way than you do. So that was his, because he was going to try to say appendix carry was the best way. And I really have landed on, I think that's the fastest. I think I can pull the fastest from appendix. But I just feel more comfortable within the waistband. And I'm like, I'm sacrificing some time in pulling. But anyway, that was just one of the funniest things. I'll never forget that. And every time I think about how I'm concealing, especially if I'm carrying appendix, I think of that. And so
what is your primary carry? Do you do mostly appendix or what position?
I usually do in the waistband, at the back.
4 o'clock?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, actually right at 4 o'clock. The reason being is that I am able to hide it better there than most places for me. And I pull pretty quick from there. It's admittedly not as fast as an appendix, but usually with appendix carry, I've got to have the shirt draped broad enough that I have to essentially do two things. I'm going to have to be able to pull up my shirt and grab, and so there's two motions for that. And it's two different hands, so it's really fast. So appendix carry, I think I can do faster. But waistband carry, I can actually pull my thumb back and essentially pull up my shirt with that same hand that I'm grabbing with. And I'm still not as fast as I think I would be appendix, but I hide it better. I don't print as much. It's more comfortable. And day to day, that seems to be the best way for me to carry, man.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then I'm all about the thin gun then. So that's why it's Glock 43 or it's a Walther. It's something that has a narrow frame, single stack, so that I'm not taking up a lot of space there. So, yeah, I see a lot of guys now. I shouldn't say I see, but when I'm talking to guys, a lot of guys are carrying what's kind of I guess you still call it appendix, but they're going over more to the side. They're at maybe 2 o'clock or something, and still just front enough that they can do it. And then they're just wearing a baggier shirt. And it's almost like where it would be for an outside the waistband carry, where I would be like, man, I can see you can probably pull pretty fast from there, but it just doesn't seem comfortable to me at all. So I don't know. I'm doing the in the waistband behind the back 4 o'clock carry, and it's working for me. But I am not sold that that's the best way,
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that you're practiced on whatever position that you carry at. For me, I can't carry appendix. I got too much of a gut, right? So that's not going to work for me. And so I typically carry, I would say 99.8% of the time I'm carrying 3 o'clock. So literally right on the hip. And because of the type of clothes I wear, like most of the time I'm wearing either a Dickies work shirt, just because I actually like the style of it, or a golf shirt. I'd never tuck in. It's always untucked, so that's easy to conceal. But I just have to practice, lifting the shirt with one hand and presenting with the other hand.
Yeah.
And, part of that is shooting from retention. Cause you got to figure most of the time in America, when things go bad, you're going to be shooting from retention. You're not even going to be able to get the gun all the way extended.
Yep.
So you need to practice that a lot anyway, but practice pulling the shirt, not shooting yourself, when you're shooting from retention. And I usually carry, my Glock 19. And so it's a big double stack.
Yeah.
And if I'm not carrying the Glock 19, if I actually want to conceal, my best conceal firearm is my Glock 26, not my Glock 43. And that's because of the holster that I've got. My Glock 26 is able to ride much lower. And so the handle, the grip is much lower and basically doesn't print. Whereas my Glock 43, the holster that I've got for that one, it's poking out really high. And then I've got an extended magazine because, I'm not, first of all, I need a real grip. Like the Glock 43X would have been great if that was legal here in California. Or I shouldn't say legal. If that was legal to buy from a dealer in California, then that would have been a great choice. So I had to have an extended magazine on my Glock 43 just so I could hold the dang thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's still only 8 rounds plus one, I think. I think it's 8 plus 1 when I got the extended. A lot. No. Yeah. So, that is actually one of the reasons that I really do like my Glock 19, or even I still conceal carry with a Glock 17. I put it there on the 3 o'clock position, and I'm good to go.
Well, and that's the kind of thing you can carry at 3 o'clock. That's
right.
I think that's great. Well, and man, you got plenty of rounds. You know that,
and I still have an extra magazine.
That's awesome.
But well, see, then it's funny
because accurate.
Well, someone was asking me. They go, if you've got 15 rounds or 17 rounds plus one, why do you carry an extra magazine? And I go, well, it's not because I think I'm going to run out of ammo. It's because of mechanical failure. Like there's more of a chance of mechanical failure. And that stuff happens. Like I still remember Clint Smith watching a video of him. And that guy was like, look, when I was a cop, I'm doing this pullover with a car, and I get out and my 1911, the base plate catches on the steering wheel, pops off. All the rounds just dump out of the magazine. He goes, I had the most expensive one-shot 1911 right then.
Oh, man.
He goes, so what do? I drop the mag, put a fresh one in, I'm good to go.
Yep.
And he goes, and I can finish my right there. And I think that's what you got to consider is it's not, do I think, a Glock magazine is going to go bad or something's going to happen or no, it could happen. I mean, that's what I'm preparing for. It's the what if.
Yeah, and you want it, and it's almost like a Murphy's Law too. That's when it's going to go bad, is when something like that happens. And
exactly.
I remember. I know you're running out of time, but if you got another 2 minutes,
sure.
I do have a story related to that.
Yeah.
I was talking to the guy from, I think it's Century Arms, that imports. They import the Canik firearms, which is like the Turkish Glock. And he was, he's out at the range, and we're testing that alongside a whole bunch of other mid-size handguns. And I'm talking to him, and he's like, listen, so many handgun manufacturers have come so far. You're dealing with such a high level of quality. Everybody's testing 30,000 rounds through them, and they keep on going. He's like, so much reliability, it's great. He's like, however, it is a machine, and a machine has the potential for something to go wrong. And so that was his sell for why Canik has those oversized ambidextrous slide locks. He's like, if you're going to ever have to clear a jam in an intense situation, we've planned for that. Now we've tested it to 30,000 rounds, or it might have been 50. I don't know. He's like, these things go great. They run just like you might think of a Glock or whatever. They've got all that kind of quality. but you need to plan for those contingencies. And so those little things like making sure that I'm fast on clearing a jam, making sure that I've got a backup magazine, everything, all of that stuff matters for dealing with what could go wrong in the worst scenario for something to go wrong.
Right. Yep.
Yep. Good stuff,
well,
man.
I know you want to give a plug for our sponsor. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, drop a little plug for Lake Erie Arms. We are getting ready here in a couple of weeks. We're going to be doing our Henry Repeating Arms event. And so especially, I know this is not exactly concealment, but if you love Henry Repeating Arms, come out. We'll have deals on everything, but we are a top 100 Henry Repeating Arms dealer at Lake Erie Arms. You're going to want to get out to that event if you're in Northeast Ohio. learms.net. You can check out what we've got going on. There's actually some free subscriptions on there for various training and other things, for AR builds and other stuff. Jump on learms.net. Worth your time. Should be great, whether you're in our area or not.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Dan, and we will talk to all of you on the next episode of the From Concealment podcast. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
You've been listening to the From Concealment podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.